direction in as far as what is happening in the country today is concerned. You remember that now, starting this Tuesday, we may be going back to demonstrations because the finance bill was passed. And we're going to look at that and see how is this going to affect our country. And with me in the studio, I got a gentleman who's always early. His name is David Wamathu. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
He's a pastor, he's an economist, he's a leadership expert. I mean, he wears so many hats, and we'll be picking some of those hats to see how he can guide us in this situation. We're also expecting a gentleman called Abel Onchari. Abel Onchari is a political analyst. He's going to be joining us in a couple of minutes or so. But we're not going to wait for him. He's going to join us as we continue.
Mm-hmm.
So, I looked at the headlines today, and in the Nation.
Yes.
And it has a very strange headline. It says, Raila, a wounded general. And this, basically, they pick from what happened in Parliament.
Yes.
The fact that, his troops were supposed to fight against a finance bill, but they were trounced by President William Ruto's troops. And according to that report, quite a number of people from his camp are just jumping ship and joining William Ruto. The $1 million question is the ground also changing? Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Fred. It is a good day.
Yes.
And I think you are talking about very many pertinent issues. I think one, by and large, I think the politics for Kenya, still we have not gotten to the level where we should be, whereby we listen and not actually following them up.
Yes.
Because our leaders, I think they don't have a mind of their own. I'm sorry to say that.
The leaders don't have a mind of their own.
Yes.
They don't have principles, values.
Yes, that is the thing, and that is what is lacking. And I think when we are talking about leadership, I like the way you started, that everything, either it rises or falls on leadership.
Yes.
What we are finding is that because we are actually associating ourselves with our political parties, we are doing things without reasoning, which is a very, very bad state. Because, let me say, by and large, there are some few issues that the Azimio people, they raised.
Yes.
They needed a better audience than what actually we saw in the parliament. But again,
they needed to have more people in parliament than what we saw?
They needed,
what do you mean by audience?
Audience in terms of, you see, now we set aside our political parties.
Yes.
We set aside Kenya Kwanza, we set aside Azimio, and we come and we say we have one Kenya. Right now, we are not talking about parties, we are talking about Kenya. Because you know why I'm talking like this is, whatever happens after the bill is passed, it will not affect you, it will not affect me alone or any other person.
It won't choose whether you belong to Kenya Kwanza or Azimio.
When you go to the petrol station, there will not be a pump that is written Kenya Kwanza and a pump that is written Azimio. It is going to be for all of us. And what I found is that people, Kenya Kwanza whipped their people.
Yes.
And actually they said even before, we want to see who is going to go against. It is only one strong lady. She said, actually, I'm not going to vote for this bill because I have my reservation. And you can see right now she is talking about the consequences. Because things are not very easy for her. But I like those kind of leaders who would start and say, there are some few things which will affect the people who chose me, who elected me into this position, and therefore I will not do what you want. So what has happened, like in terms of the numbers, I actually, even for me, I thought that there would be a voice of reasoning, but I didn't fight.
As in, almost everybody just went with the choir.
They went to the choir, and I know even the Azimio, they knew that there will be reasoning. So they knew there are quite a number of people who would cross to their side. Because some of the issues they were talking about actually are issues which will affect Kenyan. But because of that choir, it really made them to look bad. And that's why you can see Raila is actually being termed as a wounded soldier because he could not be able to convince. In fact, as you are saying, some of his members actually moved to be with the ruling party.
Yes.
And some of them actually, they also had me. You see, like now, when they were closing, like the people who closed, at least those people who actually went against the grid.
Yes.
They are the people who actually were listening. The other people, I can tell you, they were not listening.
Yes.
So it is actually a party issue, and I think it is not the Kenya that we are looking for.
Because if you look at the concept, if you look at the impact this is going to create, I know there is a headache to raise funds.
Yes.
I know the country really needs money, and we cannot go back to loaning, to getting loans.
Yes.
There is an extra 8% that has been imposed on fuel.
Yes, yes.
And then you're looking at it's 1.5% now for the housing.
Yeah, which is a tax now.
Yes, it's now a tax,
Yes,
meaning
yes.
it's mandatory.
Yes,
and
yes.
you will not recover it.
You will not recover. It is
Then-
just like pay as you earn, and you forget about it.
And so after from July 1st,
Sure.
now the fat lady is going to start singing.
I'm telling you, that's when the dance
Yes.
will be on the floor, and people will feel it. Some may enjoy, others may not enjoy, because you know what is going to happen immediately. And doing the maths,
Yes.
you know, the government was actually talking about we have reduced some few issues here.
Yes.
And that's what they were trying.
If you see the gentleman who's walking in, this is Onchari. Onchari, take a seat.
Thank you, sir.
You know, normally
Yes.
on TV, people
Yes.
don't walk.
Okay. Apologies for showing up late.
This,
Yeah.
we hide you someplace, and then we're just like Superman, you appear. Yeah, but I see you are trying to walk on water. You walked right into the studio.
Yeah, so how are you?
Yeah, very fine, thank you. As you're saying, from July 1st,
Yes.
that's
From
when, yes.
July 1st, I can tell you, Kenyan, they need now to start accepting and to start adjusting themselves. Because from July 1st, this fuel levy, because whatever they have reduced, they
Yes.
talked about reducing. They have only reduced 1 point on the IDF.
Only 1 point.
1 point, and they have also reduced 1 point on railway development levy,
Yes.
which is 2%.
Yes.
So when you do the maths in terms of what you are likely now to see in the pumps next month, you are likely to see an increase by every liter by almost 10 shillings.
Wow.
Which is quite hefty. You know, let me tell you what will happen,
Yes.
because you find like the matatu industry. They cannot actually be able to absorb this kind of an increase. So what is it going to happen? Is
The
that you
fares are
find
going
the
to go
fares
up.
are going to go up.
Yes.
And therefore, in terms of operation, even in terms of your own operation,
Yes.
if, for example, you are producing, when
Yes.
I know the government is
Yes.
talking much about production,
Yeah.
but you have produced, but there is the logistics of
You have to
taking.
move stuff from, yes.
Yes, and even the products themselves. You
Yes.
harvest, you have to take them to
Yes.
the market.
Yes.
So there is going to be a ripple effect, which is going to not to be that easy. And therefore, that's what we are saying. This bill, I know the government wanted to raise funds, but I know we'll discuss about it.
Yes.
But I think there is a better way of raising funds than just doing some few things which are going to be very heavy to the Kenyan people.
Onchari, you probably have very deep pockets, and no matter what happens with the finance bill, you're not going to be affected. Was there a better way that this should have been done?
Thank you so much, and apologies for showing up late. I want
And walking into the studio.
yeah. And I appreciate your recognition of my deep pockets.
Yes.
They're indeed very deep, and I'm not going to feel the impact of that.
Yeah.
Not because I have money,
Yes.
but because of the Most High. Regarding the finance bill, I can tell you the noise that you're getting from out here is too much about nothing.
It's too much about nothing.
The budget is up to like 96% similar to the two budgets Uhuru gave us when he was president.
96%.
6%. The difference is very small. What we have is a process of petty politicization of a normal process. We're just too much into politics. We're actually spreading fear. We're telling Kenyans things are going to be very dire, they're going to be very bad.
Hold on.
Yes.
Let's look at what we are telling people.
Yes.
We're telling people that starting next month,
yes,
there's an 8% increase in the tax that is being needed on fuel.
Okay.
That definitely is going to reflect when you go to the pump.
But then I want you to remember that there are places where the same fuel levy has been actually done what? Cut. Like the Railway Development Fund, there are places where it's been cut, so it's not going to be 8%, it's not going to be double as people are alleging, okay? And then I want us to remember one very basic concept of economic development in serious nations, just like Kibaki did. When you put yourself on what we call a borrowing path, every single moment you want to make an investment or a development project, you borrow money. These debts come at a cost. And what they do is to yoke the country into some kind of cubicle where it cannot move. So you pegged on a place where we just do what? Keep on paying the interest on the debt, not even the debt itself. So what the president has done is to come up with a budget which generates some, substantial amount of money to stop us from this path of borrowing. And that is the exact same thing Kibaki did when he was elected president. 8 months into his presidency, there was no money, Kenyans were crying. But then they were very hopeful because he was a new president, okay, after 24 years of Moi. And after the 8 months, Kenya picked up because we stopped borrowing and we began actually using our own money to carry out.
What was the debt burden then? Because now the situation is very different.
Yes.
The debt burden in Kenya is humongous.
Yes.
And so whatever it is that we are raising through KRA, whatever taxes, revenue we are raising, the percent of the amounts of money that are going to repay our debt is huge.
Now, let's say you've borrowed 10 shillings, okay?
Yes.
And you get scared of trying to actually pay that debt, which basically means you keep on borrowing. What you do is to pile it up. It becomes more and more to a point where now you break down. You cannot even do what? That is what we do.
So this is a bitter pill we have to take.
It has to be done. It has to be done. And remember, the only difference between
you're saying we are spreading fear.
That is what we are doing,
David.
Just
is this gas that we are speaking, hot air, which has no foundation?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
When the reality comes and it knocks, that is the time that people see the reality. Let me say, I think I like what he has said. One, that it is a bitter pill and we have to swallow it.
Yes.
What does that mean? It means it is not going to be as usual. Let me tell you, in terms of the economy, if, for example, there is an increase, which is actually and we'll see the increase. Within a very short time, we'll be able to see the increase in terms of the fuel. That's when we realize that right now I have had even some few organizations, they are actually planning on how they are going to adjust themselves. Why is it that they are adjusting? It is not just hot air. It is a reality that the costs are rising. And when the costs are rising, it is actually not a hot air. When you are saying, guys, don't just look at it, because where we are saying, and he is saying, the debt is so high. We are actually talking about, even like now, if, for example, the Kenya Kwanza wanted to borrow, how much money can they borrow? They don't
Last time I was told they can only fuliza 400.
In fact, now it is lower than that. So we don't even have that chances to borrow. So the thing is, we have to educate Kenyans. We tell them where we are, even in terms of borrowing externally, or where it is not an option. Because at the end of the day, as he is saying, you cannot keep on borrowing all the time. It is very expensive. It is heavy. So it is whereby Kenyans must realize that we have to build Kenya. And building a country may not be easy. It is a difficult task. So when we are not telling Kenyans that it is going to be not be easy, I think we are also we are not truthful with ourselves. Because I can tell you, starting July, things will not be the same the way it is. When the government, let me say a good example also. Employer, there is that 1.5%, which is a tax. That one is going
the one for housing.
The housing. What will it do? It is a good thing. The government, what is saying that it is going to do with it, it is actually a good thing. But let me say, most of the businesses right now, they are not operating on super profit. In fact, some of the businesses right now as we speak, they are trying, BRA is trying to survive. And that's why we are saying it is our responsibility to pay taxes. It is our responsibility to build Kenya. But what we are saying, guys, it is not gonna be very easy. For sometimes you have really to swallow that bitter pill, but then at the end of it all, you are likely to see the results that
but
you are
we
looking
need to
for.
tell people it's going to be tough.
So I feel like now we're just walking on the same path with my friend because he's agreed. Number one, nation building has never been easy. When you go to places where they've made tremendous progress in terms of economic development, you go to Singapore, you go to Malaysia, you go to China itself, you go to the US, you go to the UK, France, Denmark, Finland, okay? People had to sacrifice at some point. And for you to be self-sufficient, for you to stop this nonsense of borrowing every single time, you have to actually be tough. You have to be tough on it. You have to fasten your seatbelt and get ready to do what? To sacrifice. Now, the housing levy.
So it's now let's agree. It's not political hot air.
It is now. I told you the budget's 96%. Similar to what Uhuru gave us twice when he was president. So the difference is only what? 4%. Now the 4% is this. We're talking about the doubling of the fuel levy from 8% to 16%. And then I told you the places where it's cut. So it's not going to be as damaging as people are saying. And then that is the only place where, if you ask me, the additional income the government is looking for will come from, not another place. The Uhuru budget had the housing levy, which has been made such a big deal. Actually, if I was an Azimio member of parliament, I couldn't have paid even a single minute of attention to the housing levy because it's just nothing. What I could have focused on is the 8% addition.
When you say, wait a minute.
Yes.
When you say it's nothing,
yes,
we didn't pay it, did we? During Uhuru's period, we didn't pay it. There was no 1.5% from me and from my employer. Yes.
Because of litigation,
yes,
it was reduced to optional, right?
Yes.
Now, during
Uhuru's time.
Uhuru's time. Actually, it was stopped by the likes of Okiya Mutata. They went to court and blocked it. Here's the thing. The number of Kenyans on pay slip is very small. But when you see the number of guys who came to the streets rioting against the housing levy, it was so big. You get guys who are on border rioting and making noise about the housing levy, and they were told, hey, this money is going to come from your employer and yourself. And yet, 90% of the guys who are making noise don't have what? Pay slips. Look at the political.
So they're not affected.
That is the point. That is the point. Now, let's say it's raining, and it's raining in Kisumu, and you're here, okay? And we've been told there is a problem with rainfall. Why could you complain and you're in Nairobi and yet you're not in Kisumu, right? So that is the political thing that I'm talking about, which we tend to inject into every process. So the only point where this government is going to get the additional income we've talked about is a fuel levy. And it might lead to what I told you, the sensationalism we create,
yes,
especially our media. When there are some guys, transport guys, matatu guys, who've begun increasing fares even before the budget kicks in. That is what we do as Kenyans. We actually hurt our own people. Budget yenyewe haijaanza kufanya kazi, lakini guys have done what? Hiked prices in anticipation. That's what we do. It's not fair. We just need to be loving to our fellow Kenyans. That is the point that I'm trying to put across. And at the end of the day, look at this. When the president was elected, things were sky high. Now I'm talking as a common Kenyan who goes to a supermarket and shops for unga. I shopped for unga as high as 240 shillings.
Yes.
Right now, when I walk into a supermarket, I can find cheap unga called umi at 157. I'm realistic. I don't want to come here and sell what's not there. I can buy maybe pembe at 220. Okay, it's between that 157, which is very rare to find, and maybe 260 for unga like raha and stuff like that. So you buy what fits you. Back then we didn't have such options. And you remember the corruption we had in form of subsidies. Money is put aside in the name of subsidizing unga and fuel. This money goes to a few companies belonging to 2 or 3 families. Kenyans were not benefiting from that at all. So the process that we have to go through is going to be painful a little bit, not as much as the media is trying to make it sound. Okay.
You're saying the pain we are talking about is a creation of the media.
That is the point. Remember, you see.
Now, just hold on. Let me hear from you. Do you think what we are talking about, what we've been telling the people of this country that, this is going to go up, this is going to go up, or even what Azimio has highlighted is just a creation, a hype, political hype? Let me know your thoughts. You can go to our Facebook page and just put your comments there. Let's know whether media is playing to the gallery.
Now, if I can finish, eh?
Yes.
I remember listening to a very articulate member of parliament called Opio Wandai. He's the minority leader in parliament,
yes,
in assembly. And that's a man I admire very much. Initially, he was part of the Azimio bandwagon making a lot of noise about housing levy. And I'm thinking, these guys are squandering an opportunity to actually interrogate this budget. Because the only focus they need to have singularly is the fuel levy. That is what's going to affect the
ordinary
day-to-day purchases done by Kenyans. They didn't do that until the other day when he was in parliament. He said if this one goes through, there's going to be a problem. And then I'm asking, why did you waste so much time talking about the housing levy instead of being here? You see, it's too late. They jump on something they think is popular politically and forget. You chase the rabbit, you leave the elephant in the room. So they were attacking it when it was too late.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, when you look at the members of parliament of ODM who didn't actually show up in parliament to vote against this bill, it tells you something. The whole process of fighting it was political. About 20 ODM MPs did not vote.
Yes.
It was 176 versus 8 something. And then we had a list of these guys who did not show up to vote. When you talk to them, some of them are our friends. When they tell you this budget is 96% like that one of Uhuru, which we voted for without any problem. So Kenyans have to be ready. We have to stop borrowing. We just have to be disciplined. We have to build this country from our pockets.
So how do we turn,
Yes.
Because what you're saying is that a lot of what we are talking about has been laced with politics.
And
that's the reason why we are missing the facts. How do we get to a point, I'll come back to you, how do we get to the point, David, whereby we can be able to talk about facts, how it's going to impact us? I know Onchari is saying it's a hype, but from July 1st we'll get to know where the rubber meets the road. How do we get to talk about facts and leave out politics out of this so that we deal with the elephant in the room, so to speak?
Well, let me start by saying I am in transport industry.
Yes.
Actually, that is my core thing that I am doing.
Yes.
What Onchari is saying is that in terms of increasing the prices, fuel has actually been going up, stagnating a bit, moving 1 point up like that. I can tell you that the impact has been very huge in terms of what you net every day. There is a time we could constantly be able to net 10,000 every other single day.
From a single vehicle?
From a single vehicle.
Yes.
Right now, I am telling you, for you to net 6,000 is actually a very big challenge.
And the huge percentage of it is going to fuel?
Actually, fuel is our heavy operational cost. And therefore, right now, today, I have been looking at even the border people.
Yes.
Actually, let's be fair to them. An increase of like allowed, even if it is 5 to 7 bob per liter, the impact that has on this border person is actually very heavy. You find some of them, what they net every other day is a very small amount.
Yes.
And that's why we are saying, let's accept that things, and we tell Kenyans, we don't have very many choices. You know, I think it is good to be honest. We tell them we don't have very many choices, and therefore what we are doing, if we had another better alternative, we would have gone for it.
Yes.
But you see, what I am saying is here, let me tell you, because also I deal with KRA.
Yes.
Our main challenge is one. We have what we call tax evaders. There is avoidance and there is evaders.
Yes.
Avoidance is whereby you are using the professional accepted ways in terms of not paying tax. So it is legally right.
Yes.
But there are so many people who are not paying taxes today. So the challenge that we have right now is not that we are not able to generate revenue. And the president went to KRA and he actually told the people, you have to toe the line. Because let me tell you, the leakage in terms of revenue is very huge in terms of the KRA.
Yes.
And these are the
things
through
corrupt
deals.
Yes.
And these are the things that we are saying. If we can be able to fight the corrupt systems in this country, this country can be able to generate a lot of money.
Now, is there a possibility that the tax regime,
yes,
the way it's structured,
yes,
is the one that makes it so punitive?
Correct.
That you're doing everything you can to evade so that you can have sufficient funds to operate?
Thank you. A very good question, and I will answer it simply with what we talk about the housing.
Yes.
The people who are having houses, renting, who are actually landlords.
Yes.
Right now, many landlords are on loan on the building that they built.
Yes.
There is what we call the interest from the bank on that loan.
Yes.
So when the government comes and say straight away, it was saying there before you have to pay 10%.
Yes.
When someone looks at this 10% and there are other loans, he is paying loan, he is paying the people who are taking care of the facility and all that.
Yes.
He finds what I am netting after paying loan is a very small amount. So when I go and pay 10% to KRA, I am left with almost nothing. So what we are saying, if the government is able to relook at the formulas in terms of how they are taxing people, many people would actually be able to start paying. And because there are so many people, Nairobi County,
yes,
another day, what did they do? They went to all the buildings in town. And they started now looking at who is paying and who is not paying.
Yes.
And I can tell you, in many places, they found many people are not paying, or if they are paying, they are under declaring.
Yes.
Why is it that? It is not sometimes that they want to do that way. It is because sometimes we don't understand what is happening with them. And therefore what we are saying is, one, if we are able to have the systems work in the right way,
yes,
and at least nowadays, I see even the Kenya Revenue.
Yes.
I think it has been changed in this regime,
yes,
even the name,
yes,
by the President Ruto.
Yes.
And he looked at it, and there is a name that he proposed,
yes,
that it will change so that it is going to be more friendly. So what is happening is that right now, people are feeling KRA is not friendly.
Yeah. And so you do everything you can to avoid them.
Correct. And if Kenyans can be accountable, and if we can be able to increase the tax base, because let me say, and that's why like this bill, there are some things I can't fight against. There are some things which are good.
Yes.
There are some things outrightly they are going to impact on the people.
Just hold on. On Charity, do you agree that the tax regime in the country is very harsh?
I don't think so. Well, that is an opinion he holds, and
yes,
that is totally fine. The problem I have with this country that I've had for the last, since Uhuru and Ruto became, the leaders, that's way back in 2013,
yes,
is the introduction of the culture of corruption which existed when Moi was president. So the
reintroduction.
Yes.
It had gone down when Kibaki was president?
Yes. So it came back full swing when these two guys took over. And of course, after Ruto was pushed out of government in 2018, during the handshake, it now, almost tripled when, we had the two brothers running the country. It got worse. Because, some friends could be forgiven, others could be punished. It was weaponized.
Yes.
So corruption is the biggest problem. You find some guys within the tax collection structure in KRA working with traders out here, landlords, all these guys in transport. They advise you now to avoid payment of what? Tax. In the process, you give them some small amount of money. So the problem is corruption.
Yes.
That's why when the president was, shown around, cleaning the house, listening to what's going on, he was very offended when he found a huge list of guys who sell stickers, kept stickers to manufacturers.
Yes.
So they just do what? So those stickers are supposed to generate a lot of money, like 9 billion,
yes,
but the collection was around 2 billion. Some of these stickers are given freely, So he said, you either do the right thing or we're going to have a problem. So he was able to see where the problem is. So the culture of corruption. I don't think.
So when you say corruption is the problem,
yes,
let us look at what we are doing to deal with the problem. Because I look, if you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you you have cancer, every regime, everything that the doctor is going to, put in place is going to be something you can clearly see.
Yes.
This is going towards fighting that cancer. Now, you clearly said corruption is the problem.
That is the problem.
But now, what are we doing to deal with the corruption? Because we're still going to the people who are being adversely affected by corruption, and we are getting more money from them to pay for the corruption that is taking place.
So far, I like what the president has done. You remember sometimes back when we had issues of money disappearing and the president was Uhuru Kenyatta, he came out on national television and asked Kenyans a question I'd say very silly. What do you want me to do? Munataka nifanye nini? So we cannot elect you president to give you executive power and then you come asking us what we'd like you to do. So the current president has not asked us that question. When we had an issue at KEMSA, heads were sent rolling. That is what we'd like to see, instant action. So anytime there's an individual who has been entrusted with the management of public finances, who has been found in these corrupt deals, they have to be sent home. And that has to start with the agency which collects what? Revenue. If they want this revenue collection thing to work.
Do you believe there is seriousness in fighting this cancer he's talking about?
Let me tell you, we have always talked about corruption. And this issue corruption, and it is good we are talking about KRA.
Yes.
And I'm happy he is talking about the corrupt deals that are in KRA. Let me tell you, we lack a resolve in terms of the determination in fighting this war. Because let me say one thing, and that is the KRA again, I have been dealing with them every other day.
Yes.
Because I am in financials and I am doing audits and all these kind of things.
Yes.
And I can tell you the many issues which are happening. Like a defense tax.
Yes.
The one which has actually been increased a bit.
Yes.
In terms of this bill.
Yes.
Do you know how many people in the matatu and even the trucks business have been paying advance tax? Very few.
They don't pay.
And they get their documents stamped, well varied in the car. You look at the system, you go even to the phone.
Yes.
You look at the vehicles in terms of the systems, and you find the vehicle is actually compliant. When you actually go on the ground and you look at how many people paid that advance tax, and it is one of the things that you should not even go to the next level before even you pay.
Yes.
But you find money is exchanging hands with the officials. It is something which is known.
Yes.
You go even here at the inspection center, it is a known thing. People are just told, pass your vehicle at the inspection center so that it can be taken some photos. It is taken some photos and someone comes and puts the stickers.
It has not been inspected, nothing has been done.
I am telling you, you actually and it is something people can go and research and they see it is something which I know for sure. You find for example a 51-seater bus, you are supposed to pay advance tax currently right now 36,720. Do you know how much money people are paying here at inspection center? They are paying 8,000. And that 8,000 doesn't go to the government.
Yes.
That money is going to the pocket of the officials in that place. So what we are saying is that the government has a lot of intelligence. It knows what is happening in different sectors.
But there's no political will to come down hard on this.
Correct. That is where I'm saying if we are serious about fighting corruption, there are so many avenues. Like now the government is losing a lot of money in terms of that line alone. I'm talking about that. I like he has also said in terms of KRA, traders who are supposed to be paying millions are actually even getting what we call the TCC, compliance, the compliance certificate.
Yes.
Tax compliance certificate.
And they've not paid.
You know how much money they are paying? You have actually a bill to pay KRA for around 3 million, which now your account has been blocked.
Yes.
You know what they will do? They will go to KRA and they pay 20,000 and you are given a TCC valid for 1 year. These are the things which are happening in this system. And we are saying, if we are not going to get serious about it, you can see now the revenue leak. And that's why I'm saying there are other ways that we can be able to generate. Because the bill, this bill, how much billion is it going to generate? It's allowed 298 to 311 billion. I can tell you, if we are serious about fighting the system and the cartels, we can raise more money than 311 billion from the leak that we are having right now.
So you can see, he agrees with me that we don't have a problem with the sources of revenue. The revenue streams quite money. The problem is corruption. And, you know, like I've said before in other avenues or places or platforms, corruption is a culture.
It's a cancer.
Yes. It's a culture you build over time.
Oh, corruption is a culture.
It's a culture.
Yes.
So in sociology, we talk about socialization. From the time a kid is born, if he gets or she gets to see people running away when the cops pass, the kid will grow up running away anytime he sees whatever she sees.
The cops pass.
So over time, it becomes the norm. So some kids were born into this system knowing for you to move forward, for you to make progress, you have to bribe some people somewhere and stuff like that. So it's a culture that has been running over a long period of time. You remember when we could not get money from the International Monetary Fund, from the World Bank, in the 1990s when Moi was president. There was a lot of money in the streets, and you could always bribe your way to almost everywhere. So that is the time the culture was actually entrenched. So,
but maybe now that you bring up the aspect of culture, we're going to shortly come into the issue of the media, and why we are seeing the kind of friction that we are seeing between the media and the government. We are a fairly religious country. In terms of, as in almost every house you go, you'll find that Christ is the the silent listener to every conversation. As in, we are every Sunday we are going to church. Yet there is a culture that is contrary to what the scriptures say. How do you reconcile these two? It's like heaven being corrupt. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think last time when we were here, we talked about family as the foundation. Let me say what happens, and we have seen in very many places that if you don't carry the right values, it doesn't matter what you profess. And even the Bible is so clear about not everyone who call the name of the Lord. You know, many people will just call the name of the Lord, but inside themselves, it's actually like what the Bible talks. It is actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. Many people have not taken the values and the foundation so seriously. So what you are fighting is that people can actually say we are Christian. Simply because my name is David. And I say I go to church. So that is Christian. But what you fight, and I'm telling you, most of the people, even who are Christian, they will actually go out there, especially the tethering process. Do you know how many people actually give something for them even to qualify to get a tether? And someone will come and say, I have gotten a tether. But the question is, which process did they use? What has happened is that our conscience is dead. We can actually do wrong things and we are comfortable. And I think it needs to get to a point whereby you realize the time that Jesus went and he found people trading even in the church. And he whipped them. Because he said this is the house of the Lord. But you have turned it to a market. So what is happening is that many people are having that, it's like a clothing called we are religious. But the things which are happening deep inside them, they can do very many things which are not right. So I think it is actually in terms of which values do you hold dear. There are some people who don't hold dear the values of integrity And when you find people are lacking in terms of the values of integrity, they will actually be Christians by name.
Yes.
But when they are actually doing things,
yes,
they are very far from being Christians.
Yes.
Or even not Christians. Let's say religious,
yes,
because there are so many religions. Yes.
Yeah, and if you look at this government on Chari, I mean, I think we have more people who have professed the faith. And in fact, this government is actually said to have been brought into power by people of the faith. But hardly a year into, we are having controversies and things being mentioned that, you know, Paul was telling the believers, I think in Corinth, that there are things that are being said among you that should not be said among. We are seeing things being mentioned about this government and about the happenings that should not be mentioned. So where is that value?
Thank you so much. Let me make a very small reference to what you guys were talking about when it comes to good manners in governance.
And by the way, the cup has content. all you need to do is remove that silver thing, and you'll have some hot stuff in there.
So if you go to Japan, you'll find a very small number of people calling themselves Christians. But then they have good manners when it comes to governance, when it comes to the manner in which they deal with one another. A Japanese citizen will bow down in greeting, every morning to the neighbor. They'll not pick your stuff. If you go to South Korea, a very small number of Christians. So it's not about Christians. It's not about religion. It's so much about culture, and it's so much about philosophy. The Asians have given a lot of credence, a lot of credibility, and a lot of respect to their philosophers. The likes of Confucius and stuff like that.
Yes.
So the tenets, the principles, the doctrines those guys came up with long time ago are respected and upheld. So when a kid grows up, they know if I walk into a classroom and then I find maybe 100 shillings belonging to my classmates, I just have to pick that money and take it to my classmates. If I don't know the owner, I take it to the teacher. And then in Japan, you'll find kids bowing after they've crossed a road successfully. It's just good manners. It's culture.
So we are bad-mannered people.
Those kids are not Christians. No, they don't belong to Christianity. But they know, for me to qualify as a human being, I just have to have respect, some regard for my fellow human beings. They do that. Now, so for Kenya to progress, we just have to go back to basic principles of humanity. We just have to do that. And Africa has a problem. That is why, for the longest time...
Africa?
Yes. We don't respect our philosophers. We don't even have African philosophy. You go to the West, you'll find Western philosophy. Most of these guys who went to school around here, including myself, will be very proud quoting Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. We don't talk about our...
Chinua Achebes of this world.
We don't talk about our... we had people like, if you go to West Africa, those military philosophers, like Sekou Toure. We don't talk about them. We have towering figures who've come out with very serious ideas on how to advance our continent. Sankara, we don't talk about them. We're very happy talking about foreigners. The moment you don't give credibility, you don't give recognition to where you come from, you just wander. You're like a candle in the wind. Back to the government. A government, by nature, when you read Niccolo Machiavelli, now let me quote a Western philosopher, is not religious. When you read the 48 laws of power, or now you need to ascend to power, it's basically what I'd call evil, right? Like when you're dealing with your enemy, you crush him completely. Look at that. That is not religious. It's not in the Bible. So a government is not a theocracy. No. So you would expect some misbehaving government. But once in a while... you expect the government to misbehave. Yes. But then once in a while you can find an intersection of faith and government, where you find a man of God has been given a chance to lead. If you dial back to the 1860s in the United States, a very, very decent and religious man, a man who could kneel down and pray in secret, called Abraham Lincoln, who was elected president. And they felt there's no need to enslave people. At the end of the day, before a loving God, we are what? Equal.
All equal.
So through the Emancipation Proclamation, slavery was done what?
Was done away with.
Yes. Now, once in a while, you can get such a man. And I believed, and I still believe, Ruto is our man.
Okay, hold on to that thought. We're going to go for a short break so that I can allow Onchari to taste what is in that cup. Because from the time he walked in, he has not even lifted up the lid from the cup. I want to make sure that he knows it's something that he can take and it's safe for him. Alice, we can take that break right now. When we come back, we'll find out, we'll look at now the war that is going on between the media and the government, and whether the media is a bully or the government is the bully, or where this friction is happening. Let's take that break right now.
With great love and joy, I specially welcome you to worship with us at Redeemed Gospel Church Buruburu. This is a true family church, a true spiritual home. Redeemed Gospel Church Buruburu is home to exuberant prayers, deep and true worship. A house of prayer that will leave you feeling refreshed. Our first service starts at 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and our second service starts at 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Wednesdays, we have our midweek service from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and every Friday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. we have our night of glory. This is the church you have been looking for. This is the place for your spiritual growth and maturity. See you this Sunday and karibu sana.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe, watazamaji wa EBN. Kwa majina naitwa Pastor Julius Mutuko, na nataka kukaribisha kwa kipindi ambacho tutakuwa tukisikiliza neno la Mungu kila siku ya Ijumaa na Jumamosi kuanzia saa 3:30 jioni hadi saa 4:30 kila siku kwa lisali moja, na hivyo tukiangazia true worship ama kuabudu halisi, ambapo tukiangalia Biblia kitabu cha Yohana 4:23-24, Yesu alipokuwa akiongea na mwanamke Msamaria alimwambia wakati unakuja ambapo watu watamwabudu Baba katika roho na kweli, kwa maana Baba ni roho ama Mungu ni roho, na yuwatafuta watu kama hao ili wakamwabudu. So John nami tukaweze kujua kuabudu halisi ni nini kwa siku hizo. Karibuni nyote in Jesus name. Asanteni.
From Nairobi, Kenya, this is EBN TV.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Welcome back to the Leadership Challenge show. And just in case you're joining us, we basically touching base with some of the things that are happening in this country. How your pocket might be affected starting 1st July. But according to my guest Onchari, the media is just spreading hot air. The impact is not going to be that heavy. You wonder who Onchari is? Abel Onchari is a political analyst. Basically, and an economist too. And also in the studio with me, I have David Wamathu, who is so many hats. He's a pastor, he's an economist, so many things. So basically, we are getting a lot of juices from them in as far as how you need to adjust or not adjust from the 1st of July. I said we are going to get into the media, the tough wars between the government and media right now. Yeah. But before we get into that, something we said during the break, when the fuel goes up,
yes,
everything is going to go up, isn't it?
Not dramatically, of course. There'll be, and let me tell you something. The danger of fearmongering.
You're still calling?
Yes. If you have a government,
yes,
that is hell-bent on causing chaos,
yes,
like overtaxing Kenyans,
yes,
and then there's a small loophole. They say, we're going to increase it by, let's say the fuel levy has been doubled. When you look at that, if you ask someone who's making a lot of noise on the streets, by what amount do you expect 1 liter of petrol, for example, to go up? When you do the calculations, it shouldn't be more than 2 shillings. But you see, because of the noise,
it should not be more than 2 shillings.
Yes, because
I see David there shaking his head.
But because I have the formula.
Yes,
I have the formula with me, and I can come with it.
Yes,
and we put in terms of the cost of the crude, all that to the bottom. It will be able to show the exact. But we can do it next time we come.
Yes.
Let's say the 8% has been added to make it 16.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then from town, for example, to Buruburu, you are paying 100 shillings.
Yes.
When this is done in a matatu of, let's say, 14 people, you shouldn't pay more than 2 shillings in addition to what you used to pay. But because of the noise that is made out here, do you know what will happen? Matatu operators will actually even double that price. And the excuse will be what?
The fuel
levy was doubled. So that is, but because of the noise, that is what happens. You create a loophole for opportunists to, whip Kenyans properly. But
that means I'll pay more when I'm using matatus. Yes. I'll pay more if I'm driving. I'll pay more when it comes to unga, because it's been transported from one. Literally everything is going to go up, including you were talking about your power bill.
Yeah, like the power bill, you find the units that you are getting within the last 3 months.
Yes.
Actually, it has gone up in a very big percentage, whereby we are saying these are the incremental issues that happens. And you see, like now, that is power bill we are talking about. Do you know the impact of fuel? Because people will look at it only as fuel.
Yes.
Let me ask, how many manufacturing companies use diesel?
There's so many.
In terms of their production, generators and many other things. Who is going to meet the overhead cost? If, for example, you go for tires. And that's why now we want to look, we should not just look at it one-sided, because economy, actually it is an ecosystem. So it brings so many people within the cycle. So what you realize is, for example, when you are actually producing tires, what are you using? There is the incremental. So that cost of the tire will also go up. It will actually be taken to who? To the consumer, who is now the person who is in the transport. So if you look at the many areas that are attached, because you have to look at, let's say, for example, like the vehicle, because we are talking about matatu.
Yes.
So there will be issues to do with fuel. There will be issues to do with tire. There is the issue of the advance tax is being increased. So look at quite a number of the things. So when you are looking in terms of when we are coming to say we are hiking the fare, it is actually a consideration of quite a number of issues. So it is not just one. One thing may affect so many things, but at the end of the day, there are quite a number of additions which are coming in. In terms of, for example, you see, if I wake up in the morning and I have paid 150 instead of 100, and I'm going to do my business, I will actually also try to up my labor in a way, because I'm saying I cannot be going to do my work for zero. So you are finding that the whole of these things, it triggers so many things. And therefore, when we talk about the increase in terms of the prices, even like the UGA you find, you know, like let's, for example, even the UGA,
Yes.
there are quite a number of factors that you realize at the end of the day, there is a lot that the government has to do to stabilize even the UGA. Because, for example, I am at Nyandarua. I have produced my maize.
Yes.
It needs to be transported to the miller. Is it going to have an incremental in terms of my cost, operational cost?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Then the miller is also going to have an incremental in terms of his operations. So what you are saying is we are likely to see those things happen because the impact is there.
And this may result in the level of inflation also going up.
It will. It will.
Well, go ahead. It's okay.
This is one of the things that the media has been highlighting. Or, you know, there's been highlighting of corruption. Take, for instance, the cooking oil thing. And if you look at the breakdown of the people who basically benefited the most from these contracts, I'm not saying they don't qualify to do that, but there are people who are in government and people who funded the government. Yes. So there is every reason that the Fourth Estate should question all this. Why is there so much bitterness against the Fourth Estate? Are we bullies?
The answer is yes. Yes. Now, a couple of things.
You say the media, we are bullies.
Yeah, I work for an organization called the Center for African Progress, and we do media monitoring.
Yes.
And we do it very well because we go through every single headline every single day. We check all the Twitter handles, Instagram, all those social media platforms of every media.
Yes.
Now, there are a couple of media houses in this country that were determined, just like most Azimio guys, they actually expected Raila to become president. It's unfortunate it never happened. And they were talking about things like system, deep states, and all those things. And I remember at some point, former Interior PS Kibicho was on Citizen, and then, you know, he was asked what's going to happen. He said, this election is won by Raila by more than 60%.
Yes.
So where I was seated, that is online, it's available, it's not stuff that I'm making up.
True.
And then I'm thinking, we have the NIS, which obviously has given Kibicho this information, so that means the election is done and dusted.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, elections were held, and what he said never happened.
Yes.
That is how you erode the, you know, trust Kenyans have in some institutions. We don't expect the NIS to actually get anything wrong when it comes to prediction.
True.
Now, media houses ganged up with the government in spreading a particular narrative against this current government. They actually wrote off
William Ruto
completely, like Nation Media. I'm not scared of saying that. They wrote him off, and then they were very happy burning around, you know, opinion polls. And for some reason, this president does not believe in what we call marketing of ideas. If an idea is good, he'll implement it. So this campaign never had a sponsored opinion poll, even one. So there were 2 opinion polls that were showing Ruto winning, and they were not sponsored by Ruto. But there were around 40 opinion polls sponsored by Azimio showing Raila doing what? Winning. All these opinion polls were carried by the Nation Media Group.
Okay, but we
yes.
Yes.
Let me just finish.
Yes.
So
do we have facts that this was sponsored by
Azimio?
Because I remember
this information is on the streets. You get we have friends from across the you know.
Not only that,
yes,
these opinion polls, majority of them were being done by the major polling companies in this country.
Now, if you talk of something
and they were being highlighted in all the media houses.
Not necessarily. You know, let's say a small company like Infotrack that is owned by this lady called Angela Bitho. Yes, right? If you go to the registry of what companies, you will see the list of the officials. You'll see what they, you know, their allegiances. Some of them are relatives to. Now, let me make my point.
Let's not go that because I don't have those documents. I cannot defend that. And if Angela comes after me, I cannot defend that. Yes.
The media has insisted on running a particular narrative until after the elections. The same narrative they had before elections. is
the media.
Yes.
Let's not mention names.
Yes, okay.
The media.
Not every media house.
Yes.
Some specific media houses have actually maintained that kind of narrative. Now they've not moved on. When they
moved on to what? Because I'm looking at the reports.
Yes.
That this particular media was being hammered for.
Yes.
The facts are there.
For people to
Very
see.
clear.
Yes, the facts are there. It's not something we are saying they manufactured something from space and brought it here.
Fred,
the facts are there.
Fred, I'm looking at my cap.
Yes.
It bears the EBN.
EBN, yes.
I look at my friend's cap.
Yes.
I'm seeing the same thing. Right?
Yes.
Now, the moment I show up and I decide to focus on my cap,
yes.
No, the moment you come and you focus on my cap and not his cap,
yes.
Well, do you know what I'll declare you? A partisan. I'll declare you
but
biased.
if it's EBN that is there, it's factual.
That is okay.
Whether you close your eyes or you don't.
Now,
it's factual.
I'll take you back to 2021.
Let's yes.
Yes, 2021, 2022, 2019. We had very, very sleazy scandals involving huge amounts of money, including money meant for what? COVID patients that were stolen. The same media house never gave that kind of shameful, corruption, the kind of prominence it's giving.
I've worked. Now, if we,
if I say it's a pig that is before me, and it's a pig that is before my friend here, I should be able to say the same thing, okay? But if I just point out that my pig and not his pig, then I'm biased.
Come on.
And we cannot
the facts are there.
Yes.
For all to see.
Yes.
David, so.
Let me say, everyone has a role to play in building this country. Media is important.
Yes.
Just the same way executive is important. Before, what were the issues? They were actually like the government was saying you are giving more airtime to this party than us.
Yes.
So it has a role to play, and people know that it has influence, it has impact. But I like what you are saying and what you are asking. You are asking one thing. Can we agree one thing? Is there a justified reason, like right now today, to talk about KNTC?
Yes. Yes.
That procurement process of edible oil. Is it something that is being hyped, or it is a reality on the ground? Which I guess, and I want to say, it is actually a reality. The government has not denounced that this is happening. So what has happened is that the media has been able to do its work and bring the facts the way they are. And you see, it is irresponsible for someone to start, especially in the government, and come and say, if you continue this way, we are not going to even do adverts and work with you. Because these people are doing the right thing. Because you find even the people who are procuring, you find the people who got the tender, even in terms of their postal address, are the same. So what is it that we want media to sugarcoat? It is actually the facts, the way they are. And therefore, let me tell you, and that's why I like sometimes I find the media people putting things and saying we are not going to be gagged. Because let me say that if they are allowed to be gagged, what will happen is that things will be happening. Like I can tell you, for example, KEMSA. Right now, action is being taken by the government. Why? Because the issues were brought to the open. And everybody is looking at it and saying, this is actually bad manners, the way you were saying. These are bad manners. These are not the things that we should continue encouraging. So right now, there is a lot that is happening in KEMSA, whereby even they have come and they have looked at the workforce, and they have realized that we have people who are not supposed to be here. So they are about actually to lay off how many? 200 people. Because they have actually now looked
audited
at,
and seen the processes and where things are going.
Correct. If media did not come out and bring the issues, because that is the role of the media. Surely me as a Kenyan, I don't have the capacity. I need at least some people who are going to check and have a balance. And that's why even like now, today we are talking about the opposition right now. if the oppositions are also serious and they can actually, and that's why we pray every system to do its work.
Yes.
Because, for example, right now, and you asked a question. You asked, are we likely to see inflation? I think that is, we did not answer it, but the answer we said yes. But let me tell you why. And that are things which media keep on also getting the political analyst, economist, and they actually go and speak and they tell people, yes, it is going to happen.
Yes.
Because when, for example, you fight, and that's why we are saying it is unfortunate that the government is where it is.
Yes.
Even for me or even for you, maybe you will not be able to do better things than what they are doing, but it is good to point out some few things. For example, when you fight, the government is competing with its people in terms of credit. What does that tell you?
I mean, you're talking about domestic borrowing.
Domestic borrowing.
Yes.
Many people, who will they prefer? Will they prefer
go to the
to
government.
do business with me or the government?
Yes.
So what we realize is that when it comes like funding, it is going to be also tight in terms of the local people.
So what role then?
Yes.
On Chari, what role and how is the fourth estate supposed to be highlighting this? Because the CS Trade, Moses Kuria, who's my friend, has not denied that the names that were put up concerning the owners of the companies that won these billion tenders, he has not contested them.
No, he has not.
Yes.
Yes.
Meaning that was factual.
Yes.
And then if that was factual, and these are funders of the government, then we have every right to believe that if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it is a duck.
No, it can also be a hyena. You never know.
No, it can't.
Let me say something. Number one, for the media to be taken seriously, they have to appear, not just appear to be impartial, they actually have to be impartial. That is how the media world over gets respected. And it's not abnormal for a media to be biased during elections.
Yes.
In the US, during elections, you can find, for example, Fox supporting Republicans, and then CNN leaning towards MSNBC supporting Democrats. It's very normal.
Yes.
But then it becomes a problem when there is bias, open bias against a government.
In this case,
yes.
Help me see, because maybe I'm too close because I'm in this industry.
Yes.
Help me see where there's biasness.
Now, let's say, like last time when Uru was in government,
yes,
every single scam, was being given some kind of veil by some media houses. I don't want to name them. Or a friend of the president has done this. For example, I know something that I have facts about. The former transport minister, Macharia, appointed, there's a time he was supposed to appoint 3 guys to some board. He appointed Kikuyus, all of them. It was a big issue. So we expected top media houses to actually highlight it as a way of advancing inclusively in this country. It was given a blackout. So if it was this government appointing 3 Kikuyus, Kales, to a particular position, that same media house could have given it what? Could have made it headline. So we don't want to see that kind of bias. We want a better country for everybody. So for the media to be taken seriously, for it not to be fought the way it's being fought now, they just have to be fair.
But fair from whose perspective?
We're talking about Kenya. It's not necessarily the government.
Yeah, because
I'm not in government.
Actually, what I'm trying to say, it all depends. The other day, when the Star newspaper came up with a story concerning Raila Odinga, Raila Odinga himself called for the boycott of the Star newspaper. So, from the Fourth Estate perspective, the Fourth Estate will never be fair from the the player's perspective. Because you say something about me, you guys are not fair. You say something about the other guys, you guys are not fair. So
if you take them to court, let's say you cover something, then there is litigation. You take them to a court of law and then you present your facts. It doesn't matter what I say if what you guys have covered is factual. And then Like I told you.
And hence the reason why I was asking.
It's a very thin line.
Yes.
Whatever you said is okay.
Yes. What I was asking is, from this current situation.
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah, where
is
have we been?
unfairness? The coverage is fine,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
What happens now? Credibility is built over time. If I come here and I speak honestly, the second time you invite me to speak honestly, you begin forming a mindset. Which is a honest man.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if at some point someone is in power, you ignore a scam.
Yes.
The same person is in power, you ignore a scam.
Yes.
There's an election, you lean towards a candidate supported by this person. Then a new government that you didn't like comes to office.
Yes.
Then you begin now battering this government. You will obviously be assumed to be biased. So you have to establish a culture of consistency in highlighting these scams. So that when next time we do that, people will say, they've covered it in the past.
Let me get your closing comments. Alice is telling me we have actually gone past our time.
Okay, thank you very much, Fred.
Yes.
What I would say in concluding is that perception, when built, and especially by the people in power, they always like it when it favors them.
Yes.
When it doesn't favor them, it is not good. Let me say, media has done its work for very many years. And we need a voice that is going to tell us this is what is happening in our country. Because if we don't get this voice, and strong indeed, some of the things will never be known, and the government will continue sitting pretty even when bad things are happening. So I would say, let's give media the chance to do its work.
Few closing comments, just short.
In darkness, democracy dies.
In darkness?
Yes. Obviously, that means when there's no coverage by the media. We all want a good media. Okay? But then again, remember, when you come to, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. I've said this before in our discussions. When you come to fight corruption, when you want to highlight corruption somewhere, make sure your hands are clean. Don't go to bed with a corrupt government and then you come with criticism against another corrupt government and you think someone will take you serious. A media house which is consistent will never be criticized. That is the point.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Interesting conversation. These are conversations that are going to continue. I'm very sure even in your house right now and in your mind, this conversation is going on. So do have yourself a lovely day. Let me tell you, we have great programmings that are coming up. Daughters of the Kingdom will be coming out shortly. We'll look at some of the things that are these ladies and daughters are going through within the kingdom and how they can be able to deal with them. So we got a great lineup of programming. Don't touch that dial. Do have yourself a lovely day. Thank you very much, Ochari.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.